Hello, everybody. Good evening. Round of applause. Thank you. So SpeakuP Monday here, every Monday, Tropical Nomad. Now, tonight is episode number 419. Now, tonight's episode is all about, as you notice, is SpeakuP Monday, Destination Indonesia. So tonight's story, because we have both entrepreneurism and social impact, also Indonesian as well as expat. So tonight is the turn of the expats. So Mark has been in Indonesia for around 28 years, from setting up 2 of the Rotaries, working also as a board member for the Indonesian Australian Business Council, and has done, represents the interests of a multinational Singaporean company for East Indonesia. And during that time, obviously has been through many incarnations that we're going to find out about. He's been to the edge of space on behalf of Indonesia. Wait for that story, it's hilarious. And then obviously he's another man from the UK, same as myself, and we share certain things in common that we're going to find out tonight, because we don't rehearse or script any of these, and it makes it interesting for everyone to kind of find out what the hell's going on. So my name is Robert Ian Bonnick, and as you may know, I'm the founder of SpeakuP Monday and also the founder of RIB and Associates. Now, RIB and Associates is a growth strategist and gateway to Indonesia for both foreign companies that want to enter Indonesia, as well as Indonesian companies that want to grow in Indonesia. And the way we do it is that we connect all of those important dots to success for those businesses to enjoy success, all right? So look, we'll get started, I think. I mean, Mark, firstly, thank you for agreeing to be on the show. I think it was last week that I asked you.
Yeah, no, it was. Thanks for inviting me. And thank you to all the audience for showing up tonight. I never expected anyone to come, to be honest. It's, yeah.
Well, look, let's get started. So, Mark Savage, so you've been here, as you mentioned, 28 years. You have 2 children that are kind of grown now, which were born in Indonesia. Obviously, Indonesian wife, the kids, English background. But let's start from the beginning. So we spoke a little bit off camera before, which I find so interesting, a bit about your backstory, right? So I grew up in children's homes for 17 years or something in London, and then you kind of were like fostered at 13 or something, you were saying before. But give us a bit of an insight into kind of your journey to reach Indonesia, including the Merchant Navy.
Gosh, we don't have enough time.
I know. Was it tease out the main points that are which you think would be important now?
Yeah, essentially started off at 13. I was a bit of a wayward kid and did a bunk from home, and then got captured by social services and put in a foster home.
This mic quite close to you, by the way. Yeah.
And I've been working since I was 13, essentially. I mean, I finished school at 16. But I used to do morning paper rounds, evening paper rounds, milk rounds, help the fishing boats unload, shoveling ice, and all kinds of stuff to make money when I was younger. And then when I was 16 and I finished secondary school, I joined the Merchant Navy and travelled all around the world. And that was the best thing I ever did, because that was a complete eye-opener. We went to Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Malaysia, Langkawi, Cyprus, Gibraltar, Egypt, all these amazing countries. So by the time I was 18, I'd been to quite a lot of places. And it opened my eyes that there was more to life than my small fishing village in the southwest of England.
This thing about your story, which I think is, again, this tonight is probably going to be one of those kind of follow the breadcrumbs kind of stories, right? And let's see where they lead you. But again, Indonesia, a nation of almost 300 million people, 270 something million people, something like 700 plus languages, 200 plus cultures, right? 17,000 plus islands. And we're just getting started. One of the youngest nations, one of the youngest early adopters of technology in the world. And we have a nation that is incredibly well situated in Asia, being like basically the leader of Asia. And having, a president, we'll get into that, one of the best leaders in the world, who's guided Indonesia from here onto a process of this international statesman, like a Switzerland, of this entire region. So there's a lot there to kind of come into, but this is not the environment that you came into when you came to Bali or when you came to Indonesia. So we're here in Canggu, which is, you can say that has been one of those areas that has seen incredible growth, right? And you set up a Rotary club here, you set up a Rotary club in Seminyak as well. But maybe give us a bit of an insight. When you first came here to this area in Bali, what was it like? And what do you see now, both positive and negative?
Gosh, I first arrived in Bali in 1996, and that was in the days before you docked up to the terminal. You had to wait for the bags to unload, and you carried your bags from the tarmac into the immigration office. And I remember it. It was actually around sunset time, and you got the smell of the aviation fuel and the sunset and the warmth of the climate here. And then we checked through immigration and customs, and then went off to the hotel and just went down to the beach and had a bintang, and I just felt like I'd come home. It was fantastic. There wasn't a lot in the way of, there was no fancy restaurants, and you could eat 5-star foods, but you'd need to go to a 5-star hotel at the time and spend a fortune. There was one place on the island at the time that used to do Sunday brunch. That was the Bali Cliff Hotel, which is now derelict. I think they knocked it down. And for the rest, there wasn't a lot. To get to Uluwatu was mainly dirt tracks on the road bike. There was very little electricity or telephone cables. This area we're in now was just all rice fields. I lived in Batu Balik, which again was all rice fields, although the village existed then, as did Canggu, but on a lot smaller scale, and there was nothing here. It's one of those places that unless you were a surfer, you didn't come to it because there was nothing here. And the same with a lot of places in Bali. They've really developed and grown. I think the biggest growth happened for me noticeably after the second bomb, when things started to pick up again. But initially, there wasn't a lot here for sure. I can remember before the Sunset Road was there, and I remember being with a friend of mine who owned a big hotel in Kuta, and he got visited by people from the land department, and they put this big plan on the table and said, okay, we've got this available, and they were selling the land that they'd bought to put the Sunset Road in. They were selling the land adjacent that they had left over on the Sunset Road. And the Sunset Road was actually marked out. All the pattocks were in place all the way to Tanalot. It was there. And as the years went by, all that land gets sold, and now they can't build the Sunset Road, and we got all this traffic congestion. So there you go. That's a little story.
So look, this is the part that I want people to actually understand and kind of move through. So, coming from the UK, didn't really like it there from what it sounds like. I'm not saying that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was similar for me in some ways. At Merchant Navy, went and saw the world at such a young age and saw and realized that, hey, there's a lot more outside in the world than there is inside the country where I was born. Okay, and then you arrive, as you mentioned, 1996 in Bali. You see a place that is very distant to what it is now. And then over the years, you've seen this incredible growth in this particular area especially. And then what I really like to understand, and what people to understand, is that it's this understanding that Indonesia, and that's why I said before, 700 plus languages, 200 plus cultures. It's not like the UK. It's not like other places in the world. So what kind of mindset, mentality, approach does it take for someone to have success here, as opposed to kind of just staying wherever you are, which is fine also, and having that life? So if I would ask you, and I've seen in your life that the common denominators which keep coming up, hard work. You've been doing this, 2 paper rounds, a milk round, and helping down at the docks, shoveling ice, like 4 or 5 jobs, in early parts of your life, because again, you left school early and this is what you decided to do, right? So this sense of independence, this sense of getting up, making moves, right? Not waiting for things to come to you, but going out and getting them, right? So when you set up, as you mentioned, the 2 Rotary clubs here, and Rotary is a global organization that we know, which is very much the fabric of helping, specific villages and areas develop, right? So that shows a mentality of caring for the people where you are, right? It's not this, I'm going to come look after me, and if I'm good, the world is good, I don't care about anybody else. What I see in you is, a sense of, philanthropy, I think is going too far. I know that's what you are as well, but just the person who cares for people around him, right? And wants to see them, not necessarily succeed, but have a life that they want. So with all of these things in mind, so if you were a foreigner coming to Indonesia 28 years ago compared to a foreigner coming to Indonesia now, which things do you think hold true as they were when you first got here, and which things have you seen in the young bucks coming in, the mistakes that they're making and so on? So what pieces of advice would you give to someone perhaps coming in now in the background of 28 years it was like this, but now I think that it's kind of moved or changed or it hasn't, and this is what you need to do?
Gosh, that's about 15 questions in one.
Of course it is. This is how we love it, brother.
When I first came here, I was on the way to New Zealand to visit an old flame, and she suggested stopping over in Bali, which I did, and I extended my ticket a few times and never left because I saw so much opportunity here.
Just
talk over.
Yeah. So right now we have some drilling in the background, but we're going to continue talking.
This is Bali. So what can you do?
Great timing for the question.
I'm trying to think of a way to answer this because there's so much I can add into this. I saw so much opportunity here. I mean, the internet was just getting started. If you wanted to use the internet, you went to an internet cafe. If you wanted to make a telephone call home, there were no hand phones at the time. You went to a Wartel. I think pagers had just come in then, so people could page you, and then you could go to a normal telephone and telephone them back. That's how old I am, I just saw so much opportunity being from the West and seeing how things had developed in the West. I saw a lot of ways to do business but also not just to do business, because the Balinese have got a system of gotong royong, which is a community service, which I really liked. And I used to help out in my local banjar when I lived in my rumour costs and get up early in the morning and help them cut the verges and things. They thought I was crazy, but I just felt a sense of duty to do it. And then as I started doing my own businesses and making some money, I started to give back and help people pay for school, pay for clothes, things like this. And then I got invited to join the Rotary Club when the Seminyak Rotary Club started up in 2002. And I became a founder member of the Rotary Club of Bali Seminyak. And Detlev is a member now, yeah? You're still a member of Seminyak? Yeah. So we've got a member of Rotary Seminyak, a serving member, sat in the audience. Nice to see you. And we've known each other for donkey's years, and done projects all over Bali and other places like Sumber Island and Lombok. After I think it was about 2011, 2012, a few of us left and started the Rotary Club of Canggu because it was closer to home. And the Canggu Rotary Club is still going. I think there's about 14 members altogether, and there's about 8 of us that regularly turn up because a few of them are overseas. And Rotary is essentially a service organisation where we offer service back to the community and help disadvantaged people. We do education projects. We do water projects, which is one that we're doing at the moment up in Pupuan, helping install ram pumps, which is an amazing, simple technology which uses gravity to pump water back up the hill, supplying villages there. And now we've got to install some filters. So.
Question, why? So why do you feel a need to do that?
Why do I feel a need to do it? Well, we live in Bali, and Bali's all about karma. So, you can't just take, and not give anything back. You need to, like the gotong royong system, you need to give back. You need to help people to get a... And, yeah, for me personally, I really like inspiring people to change, or I like giving advice and giving people a roadmap of how they can succeed in things that they're trying to achieve in their lives, whether it's some form of education or whether it's to get something done for their village, or whether they need help or guidance. I know so many people after 28 years here. I can usually connect the dots and put people in the right direction.
Last question in this vein, because there's something in there that I think needs to come out. We do things for different reasons, right? So you mentioned before that you do it for karma. That's part of it. You do it because of the gotong royong system of community service, which I love, right? So just a few breadcrumbs there for everybody already, right? But why is it that that's important to you? So let me tell you where I'm kind of going with this. It's, again, we share something, right? Foster home, children's home. In the children's home, at the age of 12, what I understood and I learnt was unity and diversity. So unity and diversity, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, is the motto of Indonesia, right? So children's home, imagine multicultural, multiracial, kids from all different parts of the world. None of us really got along. So we used to fight each other. I was always the youngest one, so I was always getting beaten up. I don't think I won that many times. I think I could count on one hand how many times I actually won a fight. So I used to lose most of the time. But here's the thing. What happened was, so all of these kids fighting against each other, black, white, from India, Germany, Thailand, Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica, other places in the West Indian, Barbados, all these different kids from different places, different ideologies, different mentalities, different ways of seeing the world, right? Would come together and fight, because that's what we had one guy who ended up being one of my best friends, neo-Nazi skinhead. Right, now, some of you know what that means, some of you don't, it's okay. But let's just say that part of the neo-Nazi movement is not really to hang out with people like me. Right? It's not supposed to happen. But we used to fight, right? There were 3 occasions, I won't go into them now, but each of these occasions, it was an outside force that threatened all of us. Not just the black kids or the white kids or the kids from India or the kids from Germany or the kids from Barbados, Trinidad or Jamaica, but threatened everybody. Guess what we all did when that happened? Banded together. So all of us became brothers and sisters. There were girls there too, by the way. So what I then realized and what I then saw is that we can actually come together and create things which are important and valuable for each other. That was to change the course of my life, and any work of great importance or significance which I've ever done has that at the core. bringing people together from different backgrounds, ideologies, ways of seeing the world around projects that have a valuable input to the community and beyond. Right? That's what inspired me from the kids' home. So this is where I'm going with you, because I think you probably haven't spoken about this for a long time. Maybe you don't know if it's even there. But what I see in you, again, is a guy who's like straight up, straight down the line, and you hard work, man, and you do things for the community. But my question is, and 13, you wanted to get out, right? So if I ask you, why do you think you want to help people? Where do you think it comes from? What would you say?
I would say, introspectively looking at me, I never went to university. I never finished high school. I really wish that I had done. In fact, I did try at one point, but I couldn't get on with the tutors, so I quit. I know there's more to me. I've got a lot of potential, and I push myself. So I've got this inner voice that will not let me give in, and it pushes me and pushes me and pushes me. So I'm always trying new things. I'm always trying out new ideas. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm definitely not embarrassed to fail at all. So, and I can see potential in other people, and I like to try and inspire people and to draw out what I know they've got inside. And especially with a lot of Indonesians, they're I think they're brought up not to stand out, not to be in charge, but to be part of a community. And I can see people that are management material. I can see people that are entrepreneurs that have got great ideas but are too afraid to try in case somebody says, "Oh no, that's never going to work. You're never going to do." And I've just got to, give them a little nudge and say, "Hey, you've got this. You can do this."
Thank you, brother. Though there is one more question that I'm not going to ask today, but it's a question to yourself of where did that actually come from? Don't answer it now, but that's for you. But what you just said to me are the key assets and points of being and working and integrating into Indonesia. The realization that you're here for something greater than yourself. The realization to not be afraid to fail. Because when you come to a different culture, I speak Italian still. I learned it years ago. But Italian is another culture. Indonesia has 200 plus cultures, 700 plus languages. So to be afraid, not be afraid to fail, I think is really important. To have a sense of camaraderie, community for other people, I think is really important. To have that sense of that voice that you spoke about that does not want to give up, resilience, I think is super important in a place like this.
And tenacity as well.
And tenacity. And so that's where I was actually going without saying, right? Because I think that if anyone watching here today who's thinking about moving to Indonesia or is already here in Indonesia, that to me is the juice, right? Of how you be here. Obviously 28 years, he's done things right, yeah? Otherwise you wouldn't be here 28 years later. So I think that's really crucial for people to really understand. So changing gear, let's talk to the business heads. You mentioned entrepreneurism before. And part of the show has got entrepreneurism and social impact. So you've set up some businesses here. You've worked with Rotary here. And as you mentioned now, this other project is for this Singaporean multinational company to basically represent them to a certain extent here in East Indonesia. So for those of you, let's put the entrepreneurial hat on now. So for those people coming here with this idea of, hey, there's three things that we can do. We can either come here and, have our money come from overseas and we live the life here with no income coming from the country. That's one way, right? Another way could be, okay, so I've got maybe a little bit of money from investments or businesses outside of Indonesia, but I also earn some money here. Now, the third way, which is kind of where I am, and maybe where you are, is that there's no money coming from overseas here. All the money is generated in the country, right? So maybe with those three in mind, like I said, complex questions, but I know you can do this, man, I know you got it, right? Is, what advice, if you have some, would you give for people in one of those three places when it comes to surviving and thriving in Indonesia?
Good question. I think if you're fortunate enough to have a passive income from overseas, life's going to be very nice in Indonesia. I think you only need about $2,000 a month to have a good life in Bali, for example. To start up here, like anywhere else, it's not easy, but if you've got a good roadmap and a good funnel, there's no reason why it shouldn't work. You just need to apply and test, and don't give up if things get tough. Just keep working it, and if you believe in the what you're doing, it'll come right. It'll come right. All my businesses I've started from zero. Some of them just on a whim, on an idea from someone else, just a bit of tenacity and knuckling down and finding a way to make it work. Very, very rarely that things work on the first go round, but sometimes they do.
So then that tenacity of adapting to the landscape, right, is probably how I would respond or refer to that one. And even just myself, this talk show ended up creating the consultancy which the connections and network made for the talk show leverages, right? But that's not how I started it. That wasn't the intention in my head, but that's what happened along the way. This kind of being malleable, a bit like the ocean water, taking and moving and just flowing from one to another. So this thing about fluidity and being kind of flowing, are there any examples that you can give to people so they can kind of connect with it, but maybe from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I started off in 1998 selling land online. At that time, it was in, remember ICQ? Yeah. I put ads on billboards, own a piece of paradise land for sale in Bali, and someone from New Zealand contacted me, and 3 months later came here and I sold a piece of land. And I reinvested the money I made from that into building a business. So by that time I had friends here, mainly in furniture businesses, that owned. That was in the years when a villa was on like half a hectare or a hectare of land with like 20 staff, and they were pretty palatial places, and there was a lot of green areas in between villas and villages, and they used to go away for a few months of the year to pick up their containers and sell their wares overseas, and I was charged with looking after the villa and told that if anyone wanted to rent the villa, then they'd split it 50-50. I thought, what a great idea. So I started advertising that online, and I think there was two people at the time that were doing it. Anyone remember Peter Richter? Or Peter Riga, wasn't it? Peter Riga from Bali Villas, and Anita Lococo from Tropical Villas. They were the two people that pioneered the villa scene. And we're here in 1998 doing exactly that. And I looked at their websites and thought, well, I can do better than that. And I made a website called Indo Villas, and that's how that company was born. So the knock-on from that was people that would come and stay with us would then. This was in the boom time in Asia. and our main markets were Singapore and Hong Kong expats, with a few from Malaysia as well. And at that time, they were getting ridiculous bonuses from their companies. So obviously, they're looking to invest their money in a place like Bali, and they were buying land and building villas. So that's how I got into doing property sales and construction.
Thank you. You know, again, so I've known Mark for years, but I've never spoken to him like this. So I'm learning as you are now as well. So remember, he also represented Indonesia, going to the edge of space in a modified MiG. We're going to get onto that later. I'm going to get onto that later on as a funny story. So here's the thing. For those of you here, we always like to be led by you. I don't want to sit here, as much as I like Mark, I don't want to sit here with us chatting for an hour. I'd rather you have questions and we're guided by you as well. So in the next 5 minutes, hold that question, Jonathan. We'll give this microphone to you. Just raise your hand and feel free to ask any questions that you may have. A word of advice. Some of you may be using microphones a lot. Here, doesn't work. So just point it directly at your mouth when you ask your question so he can hear you. You will be live, you will be on camera when you ask your question. So if you do have another question, you want to be a little bit more private, then just wait until afterwards, all right? So just keep that one in mind. So, okay, so we've covered a bit of ground, right? We've covered your background. We've covered these key defining values that you have that work pretty well in Indonesia. As you mentioned, resiliency, this community mindset, this good, right? I'm here to do good. Resiliency, right? Of realizing that, hey, it may not work, probably not work the first time, but that's okay. And then this fluidity, right, of saying, well, you started doing this one thing, it led from here to there to there to here, and now guess what? It's become a business, right, which is generating income and doing very well. Thank you very much indeed. So these are great things. So other people, as this is Destination Indonesia, you know, probably would have heard different things over the years. Clickbait headlines from Indonesia, is banning anyone coming who's a couple but not married having sex, which is untrue, by the way, just so you know, plus a whole bunch of other clickbait stuff that simply is not true. Okay, so just getting your feedback and your opinion. So which things for a foreigner, an expat, coming in, do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that people have made? So one mistake is listening to clickbait headlines, for example. I think that does a lot of damage to people who haven't been here before, who don't understand how it works, right? So that's one, that's off the table. But just from your own experience of being here for this long and doing all the things that you have with these values that you hold true and dear to yourself, so which mistakes do you think that foreigners coming in, let's say for business, let's make it a bit more narrow, make or need to avoid making if they want to have an opportunity to have some success here? What would they be?
Good question again. I think one of the biggest things is lack of empathy with the local people. They can't relate to the local people. You know, Bali, Indonesia is a place that you either love or you hate. A lot of foreigners come in very disrespectful, think they can ride roughshod over everyone just because they're richer and smarter, and luckily now a lot of Indonesians are smarter than a lot of the foreigners here, which is good because they've studied overseas. I think one of the biggest negatives is people thinking they're better than everyone else, and this is one thing really you need to bear in mind when you're doing business here. You need to respect people. You know, treat people the way you want to be treated, and don't disrespect people. I mean, we all have our moments, but I would say the biggest thing would be to respect people and don't do things that you wouldn't do in your own country. You know, like so many people here, you know, riding around with no crash helmets, drunk and loud. I could go on and on, but then I'll be a grumpy old git. So, That's enough for now.
I love the way we're avoiding the grumpy old git. So one thing as well, if we can maybe Ayu or Hadis, we'll give the microphone to Jonathan and just stand by. We'll start the questions. So one of the things which I think is quite important that was kind of pointed out to me, and then I didn't realize it until it happened to me, which is often how it happens, right? We're told something and it goes in one ear and out the other. And then it happens to us. Now we pay attention because it hurts, right? And when we experience pain in our body or emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, then it's like, I got that lesson. I don't want to do that one again. So when I came here, there was an event which I thought of it's called the Brow Food and Wine Festival. It was this event that hadn't been done before, and I had this idea to do it. I had an idea of what it would take. And what I did, because I knew I didn't have long to do this event, so I just went hard at people. Now, I thought I was being polite, right? But I think I managed I'm laughing now because we're friends, so we're okay, we're good, right? But I think I managed to upset just about every Balinese and non-Balinese member of the team, right? In a period of about 2 weeks. I pissed everybody off, honestly, because I just knew what needed to be done, and I didn't feel that I had the time to spend the time, though I still thought I was being really polite. I still thought I was being nice, inclusive. All of these words that I said before, I was the opposite, but didn't even know it. Right? So as it turns out, this event ended up, we get 5,000 people come through the door. It's a massive success, right? It works. All the hard work is worth it. But it spent me 2 years. And an Indo-Dutch colleague called Yasmin, who might be watching this, I love you, Yasmin, thank you so much, who understood the European mindset and the Indonesian mindset, and then was able to be like translator in a way. So I would say something to the team, and then she would say, and I would see their expression on their face was like, it wasn't that good. And then Yasmin would go, what part Rob meant was da 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 da. Now I swear to this day, she repeated verbatim exactly what I said. And they were like, oh yeah, okay. The smile came back, the happiness came back. I was like, what the? I said it exactly the same way. What is it? Tone. That's what I was missing. So I said it the same way, but it was the tone of my voice that was different. And the tone alone was enough to put my team offside. So these are some of the intricacies and nuances that I've personally found I failed at miserably, but also thank you to the help of other people who can see that my intention is good, managed to find a way to repair that damage.
Yeah, I think we've all made mistakes like that. And it's good, you know, we do have buffers here, luckily, that'll understand cross-culturally what we're trying to say, and then smooth it over and make people understand that we're not being aggressive, but this is what we mean. We're just being us.
Yeah. And that's the thing which I love about here. It's about your intention, but your soul intention, your heart intention, not the one that you kind of put on your Instagram profile. I'm here for people. And then you go talk to them, it's like, get away from me. So it's something that is true from your soul, from your heart to other people. And that's what I find that people here are extremely well connected to, and just know in an instant, without you even thinking with your smart Western mind that, hey, I've got this. No, they already know your soul, they already know your heart, and it goes like this. So if you do make a mistake, an honest mistake, then it is forgiven. Right? Sorry, Pa. Sorry, Boo. Can I? Da-da-da-da. But if it really is coming from a different place, ego, and all the rest of these things, I think you were saying before, in many ways, especially here in Bali, we've seen over the years, over the weeks, over the last few days, people, they just get, can you expand upon that? And then we'll go to Jonathan's question of, in a way, it chooses people. In whichever way you feel like answering.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people come and go over the years, and some people try really hard to make things work and don't listen to good advice and just end up, like you say, upsetting everyone and ostracizing themselves. And then when they run out of money, they leave. But some people get deported. Other people have done quite noble causes and then get persecuted because they get reported by jealous people and messed around, which is not really fair. But things happen for a reason. So you need a bit of introspection, I think, as well when you're doing things in Indonesia, and just try and bear in mind that, like you said, it's not all about ego. You need to look at the broader picture and keep that respect and keep that open heart.
Love it. So if we pass the microphone to Jonathan over here. So remember, when the mic comes, just wait for a second or so Guzman can get it ready. Guzman is like a DJ. That's the way I see him, just putting everything together over there, and he's doing a remarkable job with Hadis and of course Sister IU. So over to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm curious about what you think about the quality of life here. Since you've been here many years. It's just rice fields, and now it's a place just for tourism. And what do you think about the future with building a hotel an airport, shall I say, in the north? And I mean, you know what's going on. What do you think about all those kind of initiatives?
Well, personally, I think the airport in North Bali is a good idea. It's going to be a different, I think the main airlines are still going to come into Ngurah Rai, and the budget airlines, I think, are going to go up north, and they're going to try and expand tourism to the north, because the south of Bali is, well, I mean, you've only got to leave here and go in the traffic to see. I think I went the other day to go into Kuta from the other side of Bali, where I had a meeting. It took me 3.5 hours. So yeah, it would definitely.
You were in a car, right?
Unfortunately, it would definitely alleviate.
That's the other thing, people. Sorry, don't take a car where possible.
That's like 10 miles.
Yeah, it would definitely alleviate some of the traffic woes in the south. And to be honest, I mean, I think some of the most beautiful places in Bali are in the east and the north of Bali. So it would definitely open up those areas to tourism, and they really need it. I mean, the people there are quite impoverished in places, and they're very, very stoic. And I know a lot of the younger people from East Bali end up on the cruise ships and working and sending money back home to try and improve the lives of the people back home. During the COVID crisis, we did a couple of Sembako projects, delivering food to people in East Bali, and it was really well received. They really needed help.
Thank you, Jonathan. So next question, just
thanks,
raise your hand. My brother, just over here, Hadis. Yeah, thank you.
Swastiastu.
Swastiastu.
Yeah. You mentioned, thank you for the talk, you mentioned as well that the Balinese are more community-oriented and sort of don't want to stand out. And in entrepreneurship, you sort of need that quality. How do you recommend, or what tips do you have to help bring that out within the Balinese when talking to them, either as employees or on their own?
Yeah, a good question. What was your name?
Jamie.
Jamie. Thanks, Jamie. I mean, over the years, I've done a lot of personal growth seminars. I used to fly regularly to Singapore and join mentors over there for a couple of days, sometimes for up to a week, and sometimes doing the VIP courses where you actually fly to America or somewhere else to spend some time with them. And it's really interesting to actually hang out with the people with those mindsets, because you really adopt, the success rubs off. So I think if for someone here, the great thing now is that there's a lot more better educated system in Indonesia, and people going overseas to get educated as well, which is awesome. But there's also a lot of very motivated, I mean, you have famous motivational speakers now in Indonesia. So, listen to their podcasts, go and see them live if you can. And actually, when you go to the seminars, you can go and speak to them. Go up and get to know them. Try and get their handphone number and get in their little groups, and just you've got to expand your expand your mind and expand your repertoire by hanging around with successful people, I think.
Firstly, thanks for the great question, Jamie. And then, Dia, I'm going to put you on the spot, my darling. Yes. So, can you give a microphone to Dia? So, just while you prepare yourself, she was born ready. I love that, Dia. So, let me tell you. So Dia, has been coming to SpeakuP Monday, is Balinese, yeah? Has been coming to SpeakuP Monday for some time. And what I really love and appreciate about you is that, no matter what the speaker is, you come. And I see that you interact and you engage and you see what you can learn. And I can see your energy is about this kind of soaking it in, And then we had a chat the other day. I'm sorry it took that long. And I think you have an amazing story, So I'd love you to spend 2 or 3 minutes and just to share that story of why you came. And then after that, I think it's going to answer Jamie's question of how do we, or how can the situation exist that helps us support Balinese people to embrace that's within to then move out. So over to you, darling. Just start with, why you came, your parents and all of that, what you told me the other week. Yeah.
Certainly. Thank you. My name is Dia. I'm from Bali. I'm from East Bali. It's called Klungkung Regency. Yeah. And, okay, this is a little bit of my story. So my father was a painter of classic Balinese painting. It's like decades ago, and he went bankrupt because of the Bali bombing, because we sell the paintings for the tourists at that time. And then at that time, the tourists came for like fine art, something like that. And like it switched into the tourists came to Bali, it's like for Instagrammable spot, something like that. And my father had another job and changing job and switching jobs many times, and until we got like a shop in our home and selling some stuff, something like that. And it got me thinking like I need to think about the financial, something like that. So I need to like save money, and then I think about the life cycles, the crisis, something like that. And then that's I actually graduated from Ganesha University of Education. So I should be a teacher, but when I graduated, I looked for jobs, and I am accepted in the hotel in Ubud. I was accepted in Ubud, and I moved then to Nusa Dua. So I worked already for 8 years, and last time I worked in Kempinski for the VIP lounge, and I save a lot of money. It's like 70% of my take-home pay, maybe. And when the pandemic came, I got like savings, like maybe I can live for like 5 years without having a job and something like that. And I see like my friends don't have enough savings, and the outsource and the daily worker, they're like got laid off, and my friends is just same like me, contract staff, something like that. They didn't have enough saving, and I start to think like, wow, this is so important, very basic financial literacy for the people or for the younger generation, just like me. And at that time, Kempinski was like one of the hotel in Nusa Dua that's still running, like we only stop for 2 months only, and then we open again for the market of Indonesia. And luckily, our market like 60% Indonesian people and long stay guests, something like that. And I still got a salary, full salary and no cut. My owner was good, and they pay us well. Only the service charge was not that much at that time. And then I start to learn financial, on YouTube, like one day, one podcast. Like maybe 1 hour podcast is about stocks, financial, insurance, and something like that. And I meet a lot of people and friends, and I start to meet my friend who asked me to join to this like insurance community, something like that. And just 2 years now, since 2 years ago, I am already become a insurance planner. So I'm partnering with Allianz Indonesia. So I got this mindset maybe because of my experience, my past experience, and also along the way, also the experience, and it changed my mind about financial. And I now want to inspire people to maybe young generations, and I want to educate them. I want to make them realize that also, hospitality, working in hospitality may be a little bit fragile, not a little bit, very fragile, because of this economic crisis. And maybe like every 10 years, or maybe it's like a cycle, There's always something, In 2016, I was working in Ubud. There was like Gunung Agung, eruption. Also 6 months, it was so low, the occupancy at that time. So I was learning from that. And now my mindset is I go out every day from my home, and I think I will get 3 things if I go out and meet people. One, I got money because I maybe save people. I help people to make insurance, so I make money. And then second, I got knowledge. And third, I got network or connection. So
I just love that. A round of applause for Dia, please.
And for connecting with Balinese people, maybe be patient. Be patient, because not all young generation maybe got this mindset, but I think they really wanted to make money, something like that. I think they really wanted to,
I mean, look, Dia, just to come in there, you see, the thing there's many things that impressed me about you, but the thing that hit me was, here is a person who sees that her community has a challenge, financial challenge. Then it's like, right, what can I do to not only empower myself, but also empower them? That's what got me about what you see. My voice is going again. But that's what got me, about what you said then, and it kind of hung with me, right? That's why it's still in my energy now, right? So I just want to thank you for being here, and because again, like each person sitting here in the audience is a bridge. A bridge meaning that you take what you've learned today and you're going to share it with someone else, either verbally or in your energy, because it's just how it works, So, for example, you, my darling, right now, a great question from you, Jamie, right? Like, the people that watch this get a whole different sense of something just through what you've just said. Amazing. And by the way, you're still a teacher. Now look, you're still a teacher. So look, if you any other questions, just raise your hand. We'll bring the mic over here. Wonderful. Yeah, and again, this is what it's about. Motto of Indonesia: unity and diversity. This is what this is, right? My brother.
Hello, my name is Brian. Thank you so much, both of you. It's a great talk, very educational. So you've been here for 28 years. I want to know, I'm having really a lot of difficulty with understanding the mindset, the culture, building houses employees. They're also from other places in Indonesia. So there's a lot of getting used to the mindset. And I think you know you're well aware about the difficulties of international mindset and then the local mindset. And how long did it take for you to understand it? And how can you give me advice on how to better further understand and so everything can go smoothly?
Well, I'm still learning.
Oh, Jesus, 28 years still learning. Everyone leave. Finish the interview.
I'll give you my number later, and we can because this is a long conversation. Yeah.
So look.
Thanks, Brian. Good question, though.
Thank you.
So just a couple of things, just so we give you something, right? Some things just through great people sitting in this chair as he is today. Some of the things that people have found is that there's also a difference between a Balinese mindset, and someone help me if I'm going in the wrong direction, and a Javanese mindset. So part of that is getting your head around. Another thing to get your head around is the fact that, as we mentioned before, Bali is a gateway to Indonesia for many foreigners, and you've got 5 different religions here that all are respected on the calendar and respected full, right? So if, for example, we had a cafe that we started off here, me and my wife Marina, and we didn't know this, so we hired like a whole Balinese team. It's like, this is great, we're gonna do this. And then came 1 or 2 Balinese holidays like back to back. We had no staff. We couldn't. It was me and Marina, and my coffee sucks, and my cooking is worse than my coffee making. So jokes aside, these were some of the things that we didn't understand going in. Yeah. Right, and they absolutely impact any kind of occupation that you want to conduct here. Is just knowing even just those 3 things. I know he's got a ton more, and he's being very economical with his words and his time, which I appreciate. But these are some of the things which I already noticed about. Also, there's work ethic that comes in there as well, and the role of women as well in this whole construction industry. But I'm sure Mark will fill you in on those details privately.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. So are there any other questions? Yeah, on the other side of the room. Yeah.
Whilst we're switching over, I'd just like to say thank you, Dia, for your little talk there. That was excellent, because that's one thing I've been trying to teach my boys. I've got 2 boys. Is financial education. Because it's something they don't teach in schools. Yeah. You're taught to march in line like a good ant and be part of the colony, but they don't teach you how to be independent financially. So it's really important that you've learned something like that and passing it on to other people. It's very, very powerful.
And interestingly enough, because in your response before you knew I didn't know I was going to give the microphone to Dia. I just came up and was like, Dia, right? I didn't know. But again, what you said was mirrored in what she said. So you were saying about online, about going to seminars, about finding out these people are, getting their number, hand phone, and so on, but podcasts. And then Dia says, yeah, well, I learned on YouTube. I learned this, I learned that there, I learned this there, and then I put it into action. And then she became, by the way, your story of manifestation, we got to go into that. Like she again, what is it? It's not what you want, it's who you are, right? So through her learning about these absolutely critical aspects of finance and everything else, was changing the person that she became, which I suspect then led to meeting the right person who said, hey, how about you look at insurance? So interestingly enough, it's nice how it all kind of gels together. But remember the story of manifesting, because we're going to do that afterwards. Thank you, dear. Detlev, over to you.
Okay. Hey, Mark, what comes to my mind is you're here almost 30 years. So you had, whatever, you came middle of 90s, then things changing slightly, then there were middle of 2005, things changing to villas all of a sudden. Yeah? Then there was
just microphone. Yeah.
Then there was 2015, things changing a lot again. So 2025. So where we will be 2035? What do you think? I mean, you have so much experience and you saw things changing. Me too, a little bit, yeah. But you have more experience in that. So where we will be in 2035?
Hang on, I'll get my crystal ball. Gosh, well, we'll be in. It's going to be a lot more developed here, but I'm hoping that it's going to get a lot more organised with regard to infrastructure and things like, especially the roads and all of these cables that are everywhere, hanging everywhere. My son almost died 2 weeks ago. He got on a motorbike, got strangled by one of these cables, and we called the internet company that was responsible for the cable, and they came to the house and they basically denied it. So I've been talking to lawyers about options there, but it's different to the West. You can take it to court, but they're a lot bigger and more powerful than you, and nothing will come of it. But things need to get tidied up here for sure in that respect with the infrastructure. I'm hoping that it's going to get a lot better flow around the island. There's going to be new areas of the island opening up and developing, as in we said about North Bali, which I think is a great idea because it needs to be developed, and hopefully to open up new areas for tourism and take the strain away from the south here, and then it'll find a balance again. Politically, I don't know. I think Indonesia's been going in the right direction. Politically, it's getting more transparent. It's a lot more easy now to navigate through government departments. A lot of stuff's online, and it's starting to improve. For the rest, I can remember a time in the before the early 2000s, before there was any credit available on motor vehicles, when there were hardly any motorbikes, and it was really easy to get everywhere. And as soon as they gave credit, every man and his dog got a motorbike, 2 motorbikes, 3 motorbikes. All the family can have a motorbike. And it's just a mess at the moment, and the thing was the infrastructure didn't improve. Like I said before, the Sunset Road was planned all the way to town a lot of years ago, but unfortunately it didn't come to fruition. So I'm not sure what the alternative's going to be. I mean, they can't really widen the existing road because there's properties on each side of the road, but I wouldn't like to say. I can't be sure. I'm not my expertise, but I would like to think that things would improve for the better.
It's a great question, and I mean, like I said, we didn't plan today, or what I said was past, present, and future. And we've done the past and the present, so I'm glad you asked the question about the future. And there are certain things which are happening that I think we've discussed in previous episodes. Planned, like the MRT, LRT going underground from the airport to Seminyak, and then there'll be stops around this Mengwi to Gilimanuk toll road that's going in. Obviously, the airport that we've mentioned, and there's a few other things coming along as well. I think there's 2 things left I want to quickly say. I mean, one is, next week, for example, on the show is the first Monday of the month, right? So the first Monday of every month, we've been doing this. We have this great collaboration. We work together, and with a major health tourism initiative, which we started. It's been going. It's called Health Hub Bali. It's been going for 10 years. Tracy, the founder from Australia, has been here doing it for 10 years. And so I came along about 2.5 years ago where I just saw certain things. I was like, Tracy, I know exactly what we have to do. Just because you get these downloads in Bali, I know what to do. Do you really? I don't know, but let's just do it anyway and see what happens. And if it fails, try again with resilience. So what we did is that we did this once a month, the first Monday of every month. And in that time now, which I did think was going to happen, is that now it's integrated into Bali integrative medical tourism. There's a model for Bali. So keep in mind that Bali has got 7 ley lines of energy that run underneath it. It promotes well-being, rebirth, renaissance, rejuvenation, right? All of those things, healing. It really serves that, right? That's why when we come here, our nervous system relaxes and we just feel better, right? It's one of these blue zones around the world and so on. And then obviously you have the Balinese culture that kind of helps to lock it in. So it's a very unique place. So this Bali integrative medical tourism model is about 3 things. Medical tourism, which you've got, for example, Sanur there's a special economic zone which is dedicated for health. Maya Clinic from the US and a few other international hospitals are coming in. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect is health tourism, and the other aspect is wellness tourism. So these 3 things work together hand in hand. So it works like this. We're coming, we have something, or maybe we just want to be preventative in our mindset, and we go to either a hospital or a clinic and we get tested. West meets East. We get tested using a whole menagerie of medical instruments or diagnosis or tools. So now we understand what is happening with us, diagnosis. Now when it comes to how do you want to deal with that, we can either go the Western route or we can go the Eastern route. So as you know, Bali has got an amazing history, natural, organic medicine, as have other areas of the world. India has its own that we know very, very well, and so on. So now you have this whole selection of tools and modalities that you can use in order to reclaim your own health. So this Bali integrative medical tourism map we had last week, we had the chairman of Bali Medical Tourism Association, beautiful guy by the name of Dr. Patra, explaining all of this. So next week, I think we're going back into it, right? So just, if you want to come, you should come. But it impacts all the foreigners here as well as the locals. Because there's 3 different protocols which basically impact everyone. So one thing which I've noticed, which Mark has been saying as well, is that, you know, Indonesians, whether in Bali or beyond, you know, have this incredible knack of learning, growing, and moving fluidity. You know, so things that were there before are now changing now, and we're in this place of kind of movement and flux, which has its own impacts, I guess, both positive and negative. But so look, just putting that aside for a second, coming to the future of Indonesia, these are quick fire questions. He's probably saying, what's he going to ask me? All right, so there was a book called Regional Advantage. Regional Advantage is a book created about Silicon Valley. And what it puts forward is that there are 4 aspects of what create a thriving ecosystem in close proximity. One, let's see if I can remember all of them. One is availability of capital. One is availability of talent. One is availability of leadership. And another one is availability of projects. And then we added onto it friendly government support. 5. So the question I'm going to ask you, as you've had both business, social impact, you've got a kind of wide range. So I'm going to ask you about each one and just get your personal opinion on where you think it is now and maybe the possibility for the future, if you see one, right? So look at that brain just going, listen, you have a beautiful mind. After he's going to get me, he's going, Robert, can't believe you asked me that. So let's start like this. So in Indonesia, because I know you've done work outside of Bali as well. So this is Destination Indonesia, and they've done work in Kalimantan and other regions of Indonesia, as well as being around the world. So with Indonesia, and what would you say from your experience being here in Bali or other places of Indonesia, availability of talent? What kind of talent pool do you think is available here for maybe a foreign company coming in or an Indonesian company wanting to hire?
Well, that's easy. I mean, what do they need? You go to places like Job Street and LinkedIn and things like. I mean, there's some very, very talented people in Indonesia. I mean, even here, I mean, there's quite a diverse group of locals. So yeah, I would say there's no problem with finding talent in Indonesia. You just need to know where to look.
Great. So availability of projects.
Such as?
Okay, so go to your own field. So let's look at, you're doing some infrastructure with sewage, treatment, water. You've got the property area. So when it comes to projects, maybe more infrastructural based, how do you see Indonesia at this point?
Yeah, I think with they do have a planning department, and they are quite getting stricter with the rules now. I know in the old days they were a lot more flexible, but I think nowadays they're starting to learn the environmental impacts of doing things incorrectly. So it's being pulled back into line, and yeah, I think that's.
Well, good. Yeah. Okay. It's okay. Short answers are good. So we've got two more left. So then the other one then is availability of capital for projects.
Okay, available at capital. I fund most of my own projects, or find the funding through my own networks. So I wouldn't know about that, but I know there's venture capital available. There's a new system with our friends from BRICS where you can get loans and capital for doing projects. So I think that's improving all the time. It depends whether you're a local company or a foreign company. If you're a foreign company, obviously you would source, I guess, overseas a lot of the funding that you would need, and with a local company you could find it here.
Great. Okay, and just a quick subsection to that one. So you said that you usually finance it through your own network. So is that people in Indonesia, expats, Indonesians, or is that money from overseas?
Both. Yeah, people that I've worked with before or that have been introduced to me.
Great. So then leadership, all right? So availability of leadership. How do you see your sector at this point?
There's a few companies that are doing it really well and leading the way. I mean, our friend Terry from Seven Stones, he's doing an excellent job. And raising the flag for higher standards, which is good, and I think others will follow, because you're going to have to in the future. You can't continue the way it's been going. So yeah, I think that's.
And the final one is friendly government support.
Man, you dropped me on the spot, don't you? I don't know anyone. Well, I do know people in government, but not for doing projects and things. So, no idea. Yeah. Is the simple answer to that one? Well,
the truth is always appreciated. All right, thank you for that slightly quick fire round. So look, we're going to begin to wrap up. Now, one thing I'm going to ask you, so what we ask each other, Mark, is that our guests, if there's anything that they maybe wanted to say in relation to the title and the topic, feel free to basically say it in about a minute or so, minute and a half. But also, what I'd love you to do, because I think this story is a great story. I think, and you can kind of shorten it if you like, the story of how you ended up representing Indonesia, going into space. We're going to get to that. It's a hilarious story. So just keep that in your head. So anything else you want to add, and then that story of how that came about. So before we get there, I just want to thank all of you for coming. Appreciate it. And as we know, every show is different, right? Of the 400 and now 19 shows that we've done, each one has its own energy, right? Some I don't speak at all, some I speak too much, you know how it is, but it's a different energy, right? So what I recommend you do is look on social media, look for SpeakuP Monday. It's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then just see, because what happens is that you'll see an episode and you'll know that that's the one you got to come to. You'll know. Because keep in mind that outside of meeting great guys like this and great guests like this, it's the audience that it attracts, whether it's 10 people or I think the most we've got is 150 people. But these are the people who are tapped into that title, tapped into that topic, that sector. So that's why you come to network with them, right? So people like Dia, who is an amazing stand for Balinese women, right? Detlev and a whole bunch of others of you sitting here, right? You have great, amazing knowledge to share, and you're part of this ecosystem energy pool that we call life here in Indonesia, right? And Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity and diversity, is the motto of the country. So it is in the DNA of all that we do. Okay, so next week I've already mentioned that we have Tracy, we have a panel for Health Hub Bali, and right now we've been going through this integrative model for medical tourism here in Bali, which is one of the first in the world to do that very simple procedure of matching West with meets East. It's so simple and it makes sense to most people, but it's not being really done in the world anywhere. So it really is quite groundbreaking, actually, right? So we have that. And just keep in mind for what's coming next. Just look at the feeds and you'll see them. Also, Tropical Nomad Canggu, best friends and partners we have here. Sister Ayu, Brother Guzman, Brother Hadis over here, and everyone else. I think Isa, who's helping out with the intern team as well. Thank you to you. Thanks to Ichi as well, who we set this up in the first place. Because again, nothing of great value happens alone, right? There's always someone either helping you, supporting you, guarding you, saving you, giving you advice that you really should take, right? So thank you to all of that. And as I mentioned, thank you to you online who are watching this. And lastly, thank you, mate, because Mark, he didn't really know what to expect. Even though I kind of said, it's a bit like this, it's a bit like that. But I don't really even know because the energy is different for each one. So I just let it happen, and the way it unfolds is how it's supposed to. So long as we stay clear and don't let the ego get in. And that's what we do. So thank you to you, mate, for saying yes, for stepping up. I know it's not an easy thing to do because you feel like you're now in the public domain, whereas maybe before you're kind of a bit private and you're okay with that. And then all of a sudden there's a beautiful flyer of your face going to about tens of thousands of people, right? It's like, oh. But you've done extremely well, as I knew you would. So just to repeat the final question so if there's anything that you think you'd like to say that you hadn't had a chance to say and you think is quite important, feel free. And then finally, you got to tell us that story of how it happened, man, representing Indonesia. Anyway, I'll let you finish. I don't want to spoil it for people.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Robert, for hosting this talk and inviting me to speak. And I'd like to thank everyone in the audience for taking your time to come and be here tonight. I'm sure you've got better things to do on an evening. But yeah, very much appreciated. One thing I'd like to say is, yes, I haven't talked too much about Rotary, but the Rotary Club of Bali, Canggu, meets on the first Tuesday of every month in the Tugu Hotel. We've been going for 10 years now, more than 10 years. We've done a lot of projects, helped a lot of people over the years. The club is struggling at the moment for funding. I mean, there's a lot of people on Bali doing not-for-profits and fundraisers and things like that. We've got quite a few projects that we want to do, but the biggest problem we've got is lack of funding. Unfortunately, our fundraiser had to leave the club, so we've been struggling. So if any businesses or anyone that's overseas would like to help us to help people on Bali, please contact me and see how we can work together. If you can either be recognised or not recognised for the donation, it's completely up to you. But yeah, and also if you'd like to come and join the Rotary and see what we're about, come on the first Tuesday of each month, the Tugu Hotel. Thank you.
Love it. Yeah, you're not going to get away without the space journey.
So, come
on!
I told you that as a... Okay, no worries. So this is a story of manifestation. So in year 2010, I was doing some video editing work with a friend of mine that was helping me to put video on my website, and the computer we had broke, so I ordered some parts and built a new computer. And the guy that helped me put the computer together brought it to my house and set it all up for me. And he also bought the box with all the boxes and extra cables and things like that came with it. So after a couple of days and my wife complaining about the mess, I decided to sort through the box and take out the things I needed and throw the rest away. And the box that the processor came in was this beautiful Intel, they called it a turbo boost processor at the time. I think it was like a Pentium 4 or something like that. And it was like a holographic box, and there's a little sticker about this big, and it said, win a flight to the edge of space. Yeah, of course, that piqued my interest. So I went online to the website, and I saw this website, and I saw this rocket going up to space, and I thought, that's mine. That's the kind of thing I like doing. So I entered this competition online, and all I could think about was me sitting in this fighter jet rocketing up to 80,000 feet and going up to the edge of space. And you had to write a paragraph, and I can't remember what I wrote about why you wanted to go to the edge, or why you thought you were going to go to the edge of space. So this competition apparently was for 10 countries throughout Asia, and they would pick one person from each country to represent their country. And I entered the competition and completely forgot about it. And as I was saying to Robert earlier, one day about 3 months later, I got a phone call from Jakarta, which if you're an expat here, a long-term expat, you get a phone call from Jakarta. It's usually a spam call or a scammer or something like this, or the bank. And this person said, "Oh, Mr. Mark, congratulations, you've won the competition." I said, "What competition?" I'd forgotten about it. "Oh, the flight to space." I said, "Great." I said, "I'm here, come and pick me up in the limousine, put the phone down." And they phoned back again, and they said, "No, this is real, Mr. Mark. This is real." I said, "Well, just what are we going to do? Are we going to do a ceremony or?" No, but we need to know your email address." And I thought, okay, this is a scam. I said, "Listen, if this is genuine," I said, "I already filled out all the details, including my email address and my phone number when I filled out the competition. So if it's real, send me an email." Put the phone down. Forgot all about it. Next morning, I got this email from Intel with all these attachments. And I thought, this is a bit, maybe this is real. And one of the attachments was this company called Adrenaline in Sydney, who specialize in adventure trips. And I called them up the next morning. I didn't tell them who I was. I just said where I was calling from. I said, "Listen, I'm calling from Bali in Indonesia. I've had a couple of crank calls yesterday and this email from Jakarta claiming that I've won a prize." "Oh yeah, that would be the edge of space trip. Are you Mr. Mark Savage?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Congratulations, mate. How does it feel? You going to space?" I was like, "What?" First time I've won anything major in my life, and I won that. And they flew me up to Russia a few months later and got it strapped into this Russian MiG. And as we're getting suited up, because you have to put a G suit on before you fly in this thing, the pilot is asking me. He said, "So you've flown before?" Now, years ago, when I was in the military. Yeah, I'd flew in a lot of helicopters. I haven't flown them, but I flew in them. And I said, "Yeah, I used to fly in helicopters a lot." And he said, "Oh, yeah, I always wanted to fly helicopters, but I got stuck in the jets." So we get up to 10,000 feet, and he said, "Oh, we've got an area here we can play." And he said, "Don't worry about the throttle or the rudders, because this is a bit finicky if you're not used to a fast jet. But you can take the joystick. You have control." And I thought, no, he's joking. Now, if anyone's ever played Microsoft Flight Simulator, you'll know how easy it is to do these fly-by-wire fly. So I got hold of this, and I banked it off like this, and he pulled it back and said, "No, gentle," he said, "like a woman, be gentle, respect, not rough." So I had another go and started flying this Russian MiG over Russia. It was bizarre. And then he said, how was that? I said, oh, have you ever seen that movie Firefox? And he's like, no, but I have heard of it. And then we put the afterburners on and went up to the edge of space. And you get to see the curve of the Earth. You look up and you can see the stars. And you look down and you see commercial airliner, 60,000 feet below you. It's quite insane. And you look at the speed you're doing 2,400 kilometers an hour just to stay airborne. Didn't stay up there for very long because you need to maintain a lot of speed and burn a lot of fuel. And then we came down over the airfield and did aerobatics for what seemed like forever, and then we landed. But yeah, it was quite the experience.
And the reason why I love that story so much, there's a few details that you avoided, and I understand why. International action, but that's what I mean. Like you're in a country, if you embrace it, you come with good intention, good action, followed up with the things that we've already spoken about tonight. This community, or this resilience, this flexibility, fluidity, and understanding to do good things. It's interesting, but the sky is the limit, for want of a better term. Everybody, round of applause for Mark Savage. Thank you, Mark. See you next week.